Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, December the 5th. We're going to take a first glance at this four-game slate. We'll talk through DraftKings pricing, and we'll talk about Yahoo pricing as well for today. Just like always, though, before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. You can follow me on Twitter. Link is down in the description at DFS by Noah. I am very active over on Twitter. I would appreciate it if you guys would give me a follow. Also, if you want to check out some of the other content that I have available, link is down in the description to my Patreon. I would definitely appreciate it if you guys would check out my Patreon that I recently launched. I have a ton of exclusive NBA content over there, along with NFL content as well. I have written articles that I write Monday through Friday for the NBA slates. They're usually pretty in depth, pretty in depth. I mean, I'm pretty sure the last couple days, the articles have been like 8 or 9 pages long. I just do like a full breakdown of the slate. I'll make these first look videos that I'll put up on YouTube the night before. But if you guys want a lot of my full in-depth content, a lot of my updated content, you can check out all the stuff I have on my Patreon. Link is down in the description, patreon.com/DFS by Noah. But let's go ahead and take a look at point guard today. We'll run through the slate real quickly. So you got James Harden at the top for $12K against the Raptors. This is definitely a tough spot for Harden. I mean, this Raptors team, they've been one of the best defensive teams in the Eastern Conference just so far this season. It's a really tough spot for Harden. He's been awesome this season, and just as of late, I mean, he's been putting up monster fantasy games, over 60 DraftKings points in like 4 of his last 5 games. Definitely benefited from double overtime in that Spurs game, but he's still, even after end of regulation, I mean, he still had a really good game. I mean, Harden's obviously the top projected player on this slate by a pretty wide margin. But when we have like guys like Joel Embiid against the Wizards, even Bradley Beal against the Sixers with the amount of usage that he's getting right now, when you have these guys for $3,000, $4,000 cheaper, that's kind of what makes me interested in them rather than paying up for Harden today. Plus, if you want to play Harden, like it's going to really limit what you can do with the rest of your lineup. I mean, there could be some value today depending on how some of these injuries shake out. Like, there's a lot of questionable guys: Daniel House, Derek Favors, Marcus Morris, Elfrid Payton, Frank Ntilikina. Like, there's a lot of injuries on the Knicks we're going to need to watch. There's some injuries on the Rockets as well with like Daniel House. The Pelicans as well, like with Derek Favors. Aaron Baines from the Suns is questionable. Even like Mo Wagner from the Wizards is questionable. He's uncertain. So there's so many injuries that could open up value. Obviously, I'll have a lot more of my updated thoughts on all these situations over on Patreon once we get a lot of the injury news throughout the day. Right now, I don't think I'm going to be able to pay up for Harden, and I don't think he's going to be a smash play for me on this slate at 12K unless we just get like a ton of value and I can fit him in. I like dropping down to some of the other guys we have, like Ben Simmons. I like a lot here in this matchup against the Wizards. I'm not sure who's going to guard him. I imagine they put Bradley Beal on Ben Simmons, and then they'll probably, if Korkmaz starts for Josh Richardson, then they'll probably put Isaiah Thomas on Korkmaz. I mean, that's a good matchup regardless for Ben Simmons. 8K on DraftKings, he's firmly in play. I like him a lot on Yahoo where he's $35. I think he's severely underpriced over there, and he definitely stands out as one of the better point guard options. Going to go ahead and plug him in as one of my 5 plays for today's slate, but if you guys do want to get access to my updated core after injuries break, sometimes the core that I put out in my YouTube videos is not the core that I stick with because injuries can always shake things up. Right now, though, I do like Ben Simmons at $35. This Wizards team, I mean, they're really bad defensively. They play at a very fast pace. Right now, they're leading the league in pace. And if we look at defensive rating, they're dead last in defensive rating. So terrible defensive team, fast-paced team. That's what we want to target. We want to target guys against the Wizards. So really good spot for Ben Simmons. Like him a lot on Yahoo, and I think he's firmly in play on DraftKings as well. These two guys in the 7K range, Drew Holiday and Kyle Lowry, I both like them quite a bit. Lowry at 7K definitely stands out here against the Rockets. He returned from injury in his last game against the Spurs, I believe. Or no, not the Spurs, against the Heat, excuse me. He played 41 minutes in that game. That game did go to overtime, if I'm not mistaken. But he still had like 36 minutes at the end of regulation. So even in his first game back from injury, we still saw Kyle Lowry play very heavy minutes. Before Lowry got injured, I mean, I'm pretty positive he was like top 5, top 10 in the league in terms of minutes played. All these Raptors starters are just playing huge minutes. Really good spot for Kyle Lowry here against the Rockets team that does play fast. They are top 3 in the league in terms of pace this season. So definitely a good spot for Lowry. He's only 7K on DraftKings. I mean, this is a guy that we were paying 8,500, 8K for earlier on in the season before he got injured. Definitely like him here. I mean, he literally shot 2 for 18 from the field, 0 for 11 from 3, and he still put up 41 DraftKings points. We know Lowry's going to have the ball in his hands a ton, especially when he's not playing alongside Fred VanVleet, or at least when VanVleet's off the floor. He's going to be the primary ball handler. Even playing alongside VanVleet, he'll be the primary ball handler. Easily has upside for a double-double with points and assists. He's been getting rebounds as well. He can get you 5 to 6 rebounds. Really like Kyle Lowry at 7K. Him and Drew Holiday, I think, are very strong plays in that mid-range. I think I would slightly prefer Kyle Lowry, excuse me. Holiday, I'm a bit iffy on with like all the Suns starting to get healthy now. Like Lonzo's back. Kendrick Williams could be back for this game. Derek Favors could maybe be back for this game, which definitely would hurt Holiday a little bit. But, I mean, Holiday's a great play as well at 7,300. Both him and Lowry are pretty underpriced on DraftKings today. Fred VanVleet saw a big price down on DraftKings. Like, he's been like a 7,500, close to 8K guy, at least in that stretch where Lowry was out. They priced him down quite a bit to 6,600. He was 7,500 on the last slate. He didn't play that well alongside Kyle Lowry, just 36 DK points in that game against the Heat. That was a very tough matchup, though. This is a much better matchup today against the Rockets. Pretty good pace-up spot for the Raptors here. I mean, the Raptors ranked 14th in pace this season. Rockets are top 3, so definitely have some interest in Fred VanVleet at 6,600, but if I can find $400, if I can find $700, I would much rather play Lowry and Drew Holiday. But then for value at point guard, there's definitely some value here. I mean, I've been playing Lonzo lately. It's burned me so much. Like, I've been playing Lonzo a lot lately, and he just has not been doing anything. The minutes have been there. I mean, he played 30 minutes in that game against Dallas. I was very overweight on him on that slate. He only shot 2 for 12 from the field, 2 for 10 from 3, so he had a poor shooting performance. Obviously, when you have a poor shooting performance like that, you're not going to put up a great fantasy game. He only had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, so he didn't have many peripherals as well. This is a good spot here against the Suns. I mean, Lonzo's firmly in play for me at 5,300 if you want to go to him. But we could potentially have some really good cheap value at point guard. If Frank Ntilikina and both Elfrid Payton are out today, that could definitely open up Dennis Smith Jr. And I am going to plug in Dennis Smith Jr. just as of now. Obviously, we're going to have to keep an eye on that Knicks point guard situation if those guys are out today, if they stay out, Ntilikina and Elfrid Payton. Just last few games with both Ntilikina and Payton out, you've had some heavy minutes played by Dennis Smith Jr. 38 minutes against Boston, 26 minutes against Milwaukee, 32 and 11 DraftKings points. I mean, he's been definitely iffy, but the minutes are going to be there just because they really don't have any other point guards available, especially if those guys remain out. It's definitely a tough matchup. I mean, against Denver, this is one of the worst spots you can get. Like, Denver's really good defensively. They play really slow. So it's not a good matchup for Smith Jr., but he's so cheap on DraftKings at 3,700. Even if he gets you 20 to 25 DraftKings points, which I feel like he can easily get if he's going to continue to play these big minutes, he's really hard to avoid today for 3,700. He really stands out as one of the better values at point guard, and definitely a guy that I do have my eye on as we head into Thursday's slate. But I think that covers point guard. Let's go ahead and talk about some shooting guards now. Really like Bradley Beal today. Bradley Beal's one of those guys I want to go to over James Harden when you factor in salary. He's over $3,000 cheaper than Harden on DraftKings. And over on Yahoo, Beal is $14 cheaper than Harden. With how much value there usually always is on Yahoo, I mean, James Harden's going to be pretty easy to get to if you want to go that route, but I still like going to Beal at 44. His usage just with this Wizards team so far this season is absolutely insane, and his usage as of late is going to be like even higher. If we can just pull up the usage so far this season for the Wizards, just real quick, I can show you guys. We do know that Thomas Bryant's going to be out for this game. They could potentially be without Mo Wagner as well because he's sort of iffy to play. So let's take Thomas Bryant off the floor. We could take CJ Miles off the floor as well because CJ Miles is going to be out. Just run the numbers so far with both those guys off the floor this season. Got 159 minutes of Bradley Beal with both Bryant and Miles off the floor. 34.1% usage rate, 1.38 fantasy points per minute. I mean, he's literally going to do everything. He's going to take a ton of shots. He has the potential to get a lot of assists. He's going to handle the ball a lot. I mean, in that game against Orlando, when the Wizards were really thin in their front court, we saw Bradley Beal really step up. Played 42 minutes in that game, close to 42 minutes, had 55 fantasy points, 42 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. The usage is going to be there for Bradley Beal. The shot opportunities are going to be there. He had 30 field goal attempts in that game. His volume is just what sets him over the top of pretty much any guy at shooting guard besides James Harden. And 8,700 on DraftKings is honestly still too cheap of a price tag for Bradley Beal with the usage that he has, over a 30% usage rate, massive field goal attempt, massive shooting volume. Love Bradley Beal at the shooting guard position today. Definitely stands out as one of the better plays. And pretty surprising, this game only has a 6.5 point spread. It is being played in Washington, which definitely helps, but I figured Washington would be really big underdogs here. But they're actually not. This game definitely has potential to stay close with a 6.5 point spread. 234 total as well, which right now is the highest on the slate. Definitely going to be a game we're going to want to get exposure to, and Bradley Beal's a guy that I like quite a bit. But you got a lot of guys at shooting guard I've already talked about. There's more value here that we can maybe look to. Like Josh Hart burned me on the last slate. I'm fine going back to him though, depending on how the injuries shake out with the Pelicans. Like if Kendrick Williams is out again, Josh Hart's probably going to play 28 to 30 minutes off the bench. He's going to be an inconsistent player. I mean, one night he's put up 30 DK points. The night after that, he put up 19 DK points. You don't know what you're going to get from Hart, but on a 4-game slate where the value is kind of iffy as of now, and the value is just kind of like we have to wait and see on, I could see going to Josh Hart at 4,500. I'm not going to have as much exposure to him as I did on the last slate, but I definitely do like him as a shooting guard value play if you want to look that route. Troy Brown, like Isaac Bonga, I think shooting guard eligible. Maybe not. He's not shooting guard eligible, but Troy Brown, we saw have a decent game last game off the bench. They said they're going to continue to run him with the second unit, and then they're going to continue to start Isaac Bonga, which honestly that probably helps Troy Brown since he's not going to be playing alongside Bradley Beal as much. He only played 21 minutes in that game, their last game against the Magic, but he was pretty productive with 20 DraftKings points. He's not the worst value play today. If we're going to get mid-20s in minutes from Troy Brown, and if he can give you a fantasy point per minute, 3,800, he could be a potential value, but I would probably try and look elsewhere if possible. Same with Jordan McRae. Jordan McRae played really good minutes off the bench, 26 minutes off the bench in that game, 21 DraftKings points. Him and Troy Brown are kind of like those low-owned GPP flyers that I wouldn't mind taking a shot on a 4-game slate. Let's go ahead and talk about some small forwards now. You got Ben Simmons, who I talked about earlier in the video. I really like a lot today. Brandon Ingram's firmly in play, but I do slightly prefer Ben Simmons to him. Obviously, Ingram, though, is a great play as well. I mean, Brandon Ingram, his usage with the Pelicans so far this season is insane. He's been one of the most improved players this season, in my opinion. Having a great year, taking a ton of shots. The usage is there. He's rebounding. He's getting assists as well. Even playing alongside Drew Holiday and Lonzo Ball. Brandon Ingram has been a monster this season. So he's firmly in play at 8,200. I do slightly prefer Ben Simmons, but if I'm playing multiple lineups, I want exposure to Brandon Ingram on a 4-game slate, especially in a matchup against the Suns. Kelly Oubre, 6,100, is a guy you can look to at small forward, especially on Yahoo, where you have to play at least one small forward, and the small forward position really sucks like it does most days. You got Tobias Harris and Oubre at 29, 28. You got Will Barton at 23. Marcus Morris, who maybe doesn't play today. And then you got some values with Josh Hart, maybe Ben McLemore. I'll probably be paying up for a lot of Oubre at small forward on Yahoo just because of how weak the position is. And he's fine on DraftKings as well at 6,800. Davis Bertans I want to talk about. So he's 5,800 on DraftKings. He kind of got appropriately priced. I mean, last game against Orlando, with how thin their front court was, we saw Davis Bertans start at power forward, and then they shifted Rui to center. If Mo Wagner is out today, I imagine that's the same lineup that they go with. And he played 40 minutes in that game against the Magic, really because they had nobody else they could give minutes to. He was pretty productive with 35 DraftKings points. At 5,800, I don't think he's a lock and load value play by any means. I do like him quite a bit over on Yahoo, though, where he's still pretty cheap at $19. I mean, I'll take him over Dario Saric. I'll take him over PJ Tucker, Paul Millsap. I like Bertans quite a bit at $19. If Wagner does play today, that probably will get me off of Bertans and actually will probably get me onto Wagner because I will like Wagner a lot if he's able to play. But as of now, he's uncertain. He's questionable. It seems like he's more on the doubtful side. I imagine he sits, so I will have some interest in Davis Bertans, especially over on Yahoo. But I think that's probably it for small forward. I think we kind of touched on everybody, just the guys that I've talked about. Isaac Bonga started last game for the Wizards, but he played 15 minutes and he didn't do anything. I mean, that's what you expect from Isaac Bonga. He's not a good fantasy point per minute player. He's not going to get any usage, or he's not going to be a high usage player playing alongside Isaiah Thomas and Bradley Beal. 17 minutes in the starting lineup, 12 DraftKings points. He probably puts up a similar outing today, so there's better value plays. I don't need to go there. I'd rather just take a shot on a guy like Kendrick Williams if he's able to play for 3,600. He could definitely be in play as a value. Let's go ahead and run over power forward real quick. So you got Pascal Siakam for 8,400 against the Rockets. Big decision point if choosing power forwards is whether to pay up for Siakam or Ingram. I mean, right now I would probably lean Brandon Ingram. It's close though. I mean, both guys are pretty solid plays today. I don't think both guys are going to be in my core because I really like Bradley Beal in this spot, and he's 8,700. We're going to talk about Joel Embiid, who I really like as well. I've talked about Ben Simmons as well, who I like in that 8K range. So these guys are probably going to be more secondary options. But if I'm playing multiple lineups, I usually play anywhere from 10 to 20 lineups. I mean, these guys are going to make it into my player pool for sure, especially on Yahoo where, I mean, you got $41 for Siakam, $40 for Ingram. Those seem expensive, but they're really not that expensive when you factor in all the value, all the easy value there is on Yahoo with how soft their pricing is. But other power forwards, not really much in this mid-range that stands out besides Bertans, who I talked about, Oubre I talked about. Rui Hachimura is definitely interesting here against the Sixers. Thomas Bryant's going to be out for a while. We know that. So if Mo Wagner is out, I imagine Rui starts at center. This is definitely a scary spot for him. He's going to attempt and try to guard Joel Embiid. I don't expect him to have much success. There is a lot of foul trouble risk here for Rui if he does wind up starting at center. And honestly, if that's the case, I'd be a little bit hesitant on him because it is very likely he gets into foul trouble attempting to guard Embiid. If Wagner plays, though, and Wagner starts at center, I mean, there's obviously foul trouble risk with him as well, but he is a very productive player. Even when he plays alongside Bradley Beal, Wagner's a guy that can give you points, rebounds. He can get you a double-double, even if he only plays low 20s in minutes. And if he plays, and if he's able to play today, I expect him to play pretty heavy minutes just because they have no other bigs they can turn to. So that Wagner status, or the status of Mo Wagner, is going to be pretty big. One of the bigger injuries we're going to need to watch. If he's out, I don't really want to go to Rui because I'm pretty scared about him in this matchup. I would definitely want to go to Bertans, though. Wagner is for sure going to be a great value on Yahoo if he plays. He's minimum salary. He's at center, which sucks. There's multiple center plays I like today on Yahoo, but Wagner would definitely be one of the better center options at minimum salary on Yahoo. And even on DraftKings at 5,500, I would have a lot of interest in him as well. Frank Kaminsky is one of those center values we need to talk about over on Yahoo. So he's $11. He was relatively popular on Wednesday night. I think he was 20 to 25% owned in most of the Yahoo GPPs. He was really cheap on Wednesday night, $11. Played 26 minutes, had 35 fantasy points against the Magic. We knew that Aaron Baines was out for that game. We do not know the status of Aaron Baines yet, at least as of Wednesday night. I'm sure we'll get that news probably after shoot-around or something. If Aaron Baines remains out, Frank Kaminsky is going to be one of the best value centers over on Yahoo, where he's still way too cheap at $11. DraftKings has priced him up to $5,300. You could argue that maybe is a little bit too cheap, especially in a really good matchup against the Pelicans. On the slate, though, where we do have some other options, I'm not going to plug Kaminsky into my core on DraftKings. On Yahoo, there where he's close to minimum salary, that's where I have the most interest in him. Paul Millsap's the guy that I want to talk about at power forward on DK. He's $400 cheaper than Frank Kaminsky, and I really like Paul Millsap's price on DK. $4,900 is just too cheap of a price tag for a guy that's going to get you 25 to 30 DraftKings points most nights. This is a matchup against the Knicks that I really like for Millsap. The Knicks are a team that plays really big. They have 4 power forwards that they give minutes to, 4 big guys that they give minutes to. So I imagine we're probably going to get 30 minutes of Paul Millsap as long as the game stays competitive, which, I mean, that's a big if. The Knicks are such a bad basketball team, but at least the game's being played in New York, which should help keep it close. $4,900 for Paul Millsap. I do have quite a bit of interest in him. I think he stands out as just one of the better point per dollar value plays. I would say it's unlikely you get like a 45, 50-point game from Paul Millsap, but he can easily go for 6x value this salary. And on a slate like this, 6x might be good enough. 4,900, getting 30 DK points at 4,900 might be good enough on today's slate. So that's really all I'm looking to for power forward. I think that's pretty much everything I see at this position. So let's run through center real quick before we end the video. We got Joel Embiid at the top for 9,700. I love Joel Embiid today. This is a smash spot for him. I don't know who the Wizards are going to attempt to put on Embiid, whether it's Rui. It won't be Bertans. It's either going to be like Rui or Wagner or like Admiral Schofield, who played a little bit last game. And, I mean, he stands no chance against Embiid. So, love Joel Embiid today at 9,700. If this game can stay close, this game has a ton of stack appeal. I love Embiid. I love Ben Simmons. I love Bradley Beal. There's some value potentially that we could have from the Wizards today. Embiid should smash this Wizards front court that's really thin right now with no Thomas Bryant. They're just not going to have the defenders to stop him. We know they are a fast-paced team. They are one of the worst defensive teams. They're last in defensive rating. They lead the league in pace. Love Joel Embiid. Love him on both sides. A little bit tougher to get him in on Yahoo because of all the good value we have at center. But you can still play two centers on Yahoo, and I will definitely have a lot of builds where I go with Embiid and Kaminsky or Embiid and Wagner if he plays. Maybe even like Embiid and Jokic. $46. Definitely a reasonable price for Embiid, and he's firmly in play over on Yahoo as well. Love him on Draftkings, though. One of my favorite studs, along with Bradley Beal. At least just looking at this slate the night before. But then you have Jokic against the Knicks, who is firmly in play at 8,500. There's always upside for Jokic at an $8,500 price tag, but this is a slate where I want to try and get up to Embiid if I can. I just think Embiid has so much upside here. So for 1,200 more, I'm just going to rather play Embiid. And honestly, I'd feel safer playing Siakam over Jokic, at least for cash games if you were to go that route. I don't think I'd go to either one of those guys in cash, but Siakam definitely has a higher floor than Jokic right now. Maybe Jokic has the higher ceiling, but I really don't think either guy are going to be core plays for me. So if I'm not going to Embiid, I mean, you got Clint Capella at 7,900, who's always in play, especially for tournaments. I mean, this guy just has so much upside. He has 20-20 upside every time he steps on the floor. He's a great rebounder. He's like top 3 in the league in rebounds per game, I should say. I'm pretty sure he's top 3 in the league, or maybe he's top 2, just right behind Andre Drummond. His rebound percentage is like through the roof with the Rockets this year. It leads the team by like a pretty wide margin. Even in a tough matchup against the Raptors, I mean, Marc Gasol's a really good defender, but I definitely like some Clint Capella here. The upside's always there for him. He was like really low owned on Yahoo the other day. I think he was like 10% owned in that game against the Spurs. I had like 30 or 40% of him, so that was definitely a profitable night for me. I'll probably be overweight on Capella again on Yahoo at $36. Like, people might play Jokic over him, and I think that's probably a mistake just because Capella is absolutely smashing this season. He's pretty much turned into like Andre Drummond light, 20-20 upside every night, and he's got block potential as well. But we'll go through a couple other centers before we end the video. A lot of the guys in the mid-range that I like, I've already talked about, like Rui. I'm scared about him here with the matchup against Embiid, the potential for foul trouble. But if Wagner's out, I mean, he's going to have to play as many minutes as he can. He's going to play until he fouls out, so at least there's potential for the big minutes there, just a really tough matchup. Wagner, I will have a lot of interest in him today if he's able to play. Obviously, the Aaron Baines injury is going to be big to watch. If he's out, that's going to open up Kaminsky, who I talked about and I really like on Yahoo. If Aaron Baines is able to play and he's not limited, I mean, this is a really good spot for him against the Pelicans. He could definitely be in play. Derek Favors, if he's able to play and not limited, 5,200 for Derek Favors, especially with how well he was playing before he got injured, getting 29, 30, 32 minutes a game, firmly in play at 5,200. And honestly, if Favors plays and is not limited, he probably becomes one of the best like center plays at his price tag, especially in a matchup with the Suns. But there's really no value that I like at center. Like, you could argue that maybe Marc Gasol's a little bit too cheap, but now that Serge Ibaka's back, I don't think the upside's really there for Marc Gasol. Like, he played 33 minutes against Miami, 25 minutes against Utah. He's probably going to be like in the mid-20s, high 20s in minutes most nights. Against Houston, I mean, he's going to have to be out on the floor. They're going to need size against Clint Capella. We know Clint Capella is going to play huge minutes. So I guess there's a chance that Marc Gasol is able to pay off that price tag, but I feel like I want to get up to like Favors, Kaminsky, Baines, like all these guys I feel give you more upside than Marc Gasol. And then Jackson Hayes maybe is a value. Like, he started the last game against Dallas. He only played 26 minutes. I believe he dealt with foul trouble in that game. Only 18 DraftKings points, wasn't very productive, but he's down to 3,800 on DraftKings. Much easier matchup today against the Suns, especially if Aaron Baines is out. Jackson Hayes, even though he's really struggled lately, the minutes should still be there. He's 3,800. We're kind of lacking value on the slate. I could definitely see using him as a cheap center. But I think we pretty much covered every center play, or all the center plays that I like for today, guys. I think we pretty much covered everything. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. As always, I greatly appreciate you watching. Make sure you drop a like before you get out of here. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. Like always, you can follow me on Twitter. Link is down in the description at DFS by Noah. You can also check out all the content I have over on Patreon. Get access to our Discord chat that I'm in throughout the day. If you want to ever ask me questions about lineup construction, I do make a roster construction video that I upload to Patreon Monday through Friday, talking through how we should be building out our lineups for tonight's slate. You can see all the stuff I have available on Patreon. Link is down in the description, patreon.com/DFS by Noah. But good luck tonight, guys. Appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.